Welcome to our surprise edition of Get the Dirt. Each Friday this summer we have been borrowing a bin or two from our library system to help us in digging deeper into all the wonderful resources our library has to offer. That's why we've named this summer library virtual program using the acronym D.I.R.T. This summer we have definitely been discovering interesting reading trails. To digging deeper into these bins, finding topics that spark our interest, getting to know how our librarians and mining for hidden treasures among the stacks of our library and through the library's online catalog. Rocks to remember. Let's start with a fictional book called Kindness Rocks, written by Sonika Ellis. Kindness Rocks are a fun activity that our family had heard about a few years ago. Let's read a book about it. Kindness Rocks. Clara is a young girl who likes to collect rocks. She gathers them along the creek's edge and then brings them home to decorate. Once at home, Clara paints pictures and words of kindness on the rocks, then leaves them outside of her gate. One day, Sheldon the turtle came slowly hopping by Clara's gate. Sheldon was feeling a bit down when he suddenly looked up and saw Clara's decorated rocks. Sheldon could not believe it. One rock said, "You are beautiful." Another said, "I love you." Still another read, "You are amazing." By the time he finished reading all of the messages, he was grinning ear to ear. Sheldon went as fast as he could, which was not very fast, and told his friend Benny Bunny. Benny was so impressed that he told the squirrel. Myrtle the squirrel. Myrtle told Nibbles the mouse, and Nibbles told Harry the skunk, from a safe distance, of course. And so it went till all the animals in the area had gathered around to see the Kindness Rocks. Every day the animals came to see the pretty pictures and kind messages painted on the rocks. Each time they brought a new friend along to share in happiness the rocks brought. The messages would change every few days, but they were always words of encouragement, and they always made whoever read them feel happy. Although it could be hard work sometimes, Clara never seemed to grow weary of creating and sharing her kindness rocks. Until one day when she had to say goodbye to her home. See, Clara and her family were moving to a bigger house because she was going to have a sister. That day, Sheldon did not know that Clara's family had moved away, arrived at the gate to find there were no more kindness rocks. Sheldon sat quietly for a long time, feeling sad that there would be no more kind words for he and his friends to read each day. But suddenly, he had an idea. When Sheldon rushed back to his home as fast as he could, which was not very fast, once home, he gathered his markers and art supplies, moved his shell, and went to work. When he was done, he went back to the gate to find all of his friends disappointed that there were no more kind words to read. But Sheldon showed off his newly decorated shell, bringing smiles to his faces. You see, everyone can be kind, and as Sheldon and his friends discovered, kindness. Love and kindness are never wasted. Kind people are the best people. After we found out about that and we started looking around for rocks, here's one of the rocks that I found right over here. There are so many fun ways to paint rocks. Hiding rocks is fun as you think of the person who might find your rock. Finding rocks is fun because it's a little bit of encouragement found in your daily activities. Maybe it could become part of your stones of remembrance. Have you ever heard the phrase, roll with the punches? That's an idiom, a group of words that are not related to what they really mean. Let's get the dirt. Roll with the punches finds its roots in boxing. As a boxer, if you angle yourself just right, the punch from your opponent will not hurt so much because it rolls past its intended target. Check out what happened to Petra the Rock in our story, Petra by Mariana Copel. Petra. Nothing can move me. Not the wind, not time. I don't go anywhere. Everyone else comes to me. I'm strong. I'm fearsome, fearless, mighty, magnificent, mountain. So, apparently our mighty, magnificent mountain is being carried away by a dog. Must be a giant dog. And look at its giant owner. Is that a pebble? Woof. Me? A pebble? No way. I'm an egg. A smooth and shiny egg. An egg of the world in a world full of surprises. Will I breathe fire? Will I wear a tuxedo? Whatever I become, I'm bound to be amazing. There's no room for rocks in my nest. Oh no, not again. This is definitely becoming a habit. Well, they say no egg is an island. What an island. What paradise. What palm trees. What peace. What sunshine. What a cool rock. I don't think she's an island anymore. I think she's going to be painted. Not bad at all. Why be tomorrow? Who knows? But no need to worry. I'm a rock, and this is how I roll. Would you say Petra was able to roll with the punches? Here's something about which to get the dirt. Petra is the Greek word for a massive rock. That would make the name of the character in this book a bit apropos, wouldn't you say? A rock named Petra. There are so many ways to paint rocks. You can make them look like an animal or a pet you have at home. Did you know that back in 1975, you could purchase your very own pet rock? For $4, you could purchase a rock that came in a box, complete with air holes, straw for comfort, a pet rock, and a care manual inside. Gary Dahl came up with the idea of pet rocks. After hearing his friends complain about how much work it is to care for a pet, feeding, grooming, walking, and veterinarian bills. So Gary joked with his friends about the perfect pet, who needs none of these cares, a rock. Then he took that idea, found a source for the rock and straw, created a box, and wrote a manual. The care and training of your pet rock. The smooth stones cost 1 cent to purchase from Mexico. The straw was nearly free, and the booklets, he cut a deal so that those were nearly free. His only real expense was creating the box. He sold the pet rocks for 6 months and made $1 million. It might sound a bit crazy to buy a rock and call it your pet, but when you look back in 45 years at what was popular to own now, you might be shaking your head saying, "What were we thinking?" In fact, get the dirt on this. In 2012, 37 years later, Rosebud Entertainment bought the trademark to Pet Rock and now has the rights to sell them. Bring Me a Rock by Daniel Miraz reminds me of a book we read earlier this summer. It was written by Dr. Seuss. See if you can think of what book that might be as I read Bring Me a Rock. Bring me a rock. Bring me a rock. The bigger, the better. I will have a majestic pedestal fit for a king. That'll do. Next time, please. Is that the best you've got? I need rocks, not puny pebbles. Be gone, little bug. At last, my throne is complete. Help! I have an idea. What he needs is a pebble. You saved my life. How can I repay you? Bring me those rocks. Can you think of what Dr. Seuss's book that we read in which the smallest character played the biggest role? Yes, Yertle the Turtle. Dr. Seuss wrote another book about the importance of each of us. That book is called Horton Hears a Who. Bring Me a Rock also reminds me of stones of remembrance. Stones and rocks have been used since ancient times as a symbol of remembering. Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had spoke with him. So these stones shall become a memorial, raising an Ebenezer, a stone of help, pyramids to remember the pharaohs, obelisks to remember the person or event, and nuskas in the Arctic to serve as landmarks, memorials, statues, tombs, gravestones. All of these are more modern versions of the ancient stones of remembrance. We as humans tend to be forgetful. Our stones of remembrance, our memorials, statues, gravestones, are important for helping us learn from our past and become better citizens. Maybe you could paint rocks to show different events in your life, and stack them as your stones of remembrance. Well, as I got the dirt on rock painting, through digging deeper into these bins and my mining for books in our library's card catalog, I found some great rock painting books and ideas. These are some of the rocks that I've made. I've made pizza. I was hungry. I have made houses, mystery rocks. This is one of my favorites. It's an egg, and you don't know what creature is going to come out of it. I've made pet stores, post offices, groceries, churches, schools, and I'm working on finding the perfect rock to make the library. And a great way to help learn how to paint these rocks is through your library. Your library has lots and lots of books that will help you learn different ideas and step-by-step instructions to how to paint rocks. these are just some of my favorites. So if you are interested in painting rocks, I suggest that you go to your library and get lots of books for you about painting rocks. So I decided, what a better way to teach than make an example. So I'm going to give an example of a rock painted. So I have this rock, and our library has these story bins, like I've been talking about. And in this one rock painting story bin, they have special paint markers. Now I thought that I'd give it a try and I'd paint a rock with the markers. Usually I'd paint rocks with acrylic paint and paintbrushes, but you can get in better detail when you paint with markers. So I'm going to start with a black marker, and I'm going to write in cursive love. Step 1. Oh yes, here's the box of the paint markers that they come in. So that's step 1. Step 2, I'm going to take a pink marker and put flowers around it. Now these flowers are not going to be perfect. They're mostly going to be like different shaped blobs. Did you know that artists, when they paint trees, they actually don't really paint the individual leaves? They mostly make blobs, and people think that they're leaves because they're on a tree. It's very interesting. I'm going to, so these flowers, and I decided that when I'm done making the main shapes for these flowers, I'm going to make my words a little bit thicker so they show up easily. I'm doing 3 because I like doing things in 3. In art, you want to use a lot of odd numbers. That's why I'm doing things in 3. And I'm doing them in specific spots so that it sort of comes over the words. So hopefully, it'll look like the words are on top of them. That is step 2 and 3, because I went over it again after I drew the flowers. For step 4, I'm going to draw some leaves. So I'm taking a green marker, and leaves, they're a teardrop shape. So you sort of just do a teardrop. These are actually one of my favorite things to draw. Now remember, these are paints, so you want to be careful not to smudge them. After I've done the leaves, I'm going to go around with a gold marker, because gold is one of my favorite colors, and I'm going to make sort of like swirls around it, sort of accent it. You don't have to do this. I decided to make it a little bit cool border. And the last step is adding detail to your flowers. I decided that to add detail, I'm going to use a white marker. But before you add detail, you need to make sure that your rock is dry where you're going to add the detail on. Mine dried pretty quickly, so I'm going to add the detail. I'm going to draw a sort of like white dot in the middle, and then have like lines going off to sort of make the lines of the flower. And then, I'll show you that. And I'm going to go over one more time in the black because it's very important for the passerbys, for the people who are walking by, to be able to see the rock, to see the words. And because it went over the pink, it's a little bit light colored in some spots, so you just want to fix that and make sure it's all one good color. If you decided to do fancy lettering, that would be a great time to do it. And if you want to, you can add your initial in the corner. How to prime a marker. You see, these markers are very special. They need to be primed before you use them. So what you do, if your marker has not been used before, you take the marker. You obviously have to take off the wrapping, which is plastic. It's tricky to get off. And then you open the lid. Now, you look at the tip, and the tip is actually white. Now, right now, no paint is going to come out of the white tip. So what you have to do is you take the paintbrush, and you press it down on a surface that you won't, or your parents don't mind if it gets paint on it. And then you just go up and down lots and lots of times. As you're doing this, you will see there start to become whatever color the marker is into the white tip. Sometimes you just want to hold it there. Other times you want to go quickly up and down, so it will because this is what works the best. After you've got it down, the tip should be the same color as the marker. Now, feel free to draw with it. It works. After these been sitting for a while, you're going to have to do that again just to make sure that they work. And if you don't put the cap on tight so you can't see a gap in between them, your marker is going to dry out and not work anymore. So, this is just one of the types of rocks you could paint. You could paint houses, buildings, rivers, absolutely anything. That's why I like rock painting. I also really like rock painting because it is so relaxing. Another thing to keep in mind if you want to paint a rock is that sometimes for the picture that you're painting, you need a background. Now, a background can be from easy to hard to do. With this one, I chose to use the rock as the background. With others, like this, you need a blue background to make it. Otherwise, well, it'd look okay, but some people might not like it like that. So, on this one rock, I have it white. Now, you can do anything on a white background, but you might want to, like that person, make it blue. So that would be the background of your rock. It also works if you don't like the color that your rock is and you're going to need to use it. Make sure your background dries before you paint on it. Rock painting is a really relaxing activity for me. It calms me and helps me focus while at the same time feeding my creative side. Get the dirt on this. Not only can you make kindness stones to hide and share, but you can take your creations to a craft sale, flea market, or stand in your own front yard and sell them. You just might have the next pet rock idea rolling around in your head. We'll finish today's Get the Dirt, Rocks, to Remember, with a book about friendship by Jay Mileski called Ricky the Rock That Couldn't Roll. As we read, look carefully on every page as you listen to the words. Jay Mileski has hidden a special friend on each and every page of his books. The special friend is a ladybug. Can you see the ladybug on this page? Over the lake and out past the bay was a green grassy hill where the rocks came to play. They would race to the top and take in the view, then roll their way down, the way rocks love to do. There were Kip, Pip, Chester, and Marvin the Boulder. Indigenous played too, though he was much older, and a group called the Pebbles never sat still, zigzagging their way up and over the hill. Kai was a meteorite, not from this planet, and Maya was lava, but taken for granted. Stu was the smart one, Parker the clown, and grumpy old Herbert rolled around with a frown. Gabby was sassy, Leslie had flair, Emma was giggling, and Hud had black hair. But the one trait that seemed to be shared by them all was that every rock there was shaped like a ball. And because they were round, they could easily roll through grass, past the lake, and up over the knoll. Except for poor Ricky, who quietly sat. You see, Rick couldn't roll because one side was flat. His friends didn't get it. "Come roll," they would chant. But Ricky tried, but replied, "I'm sorry, I can't." But the rocks were determined. They were sure they could solve Ricky's flat-sided problem and help him revolve. So Marvin the Boulder, with his impressive strength, carried Rick all the way to the hill's grassy peak, then pushed him downhill, yelling, "Keep rolling, kid!" But Rick didn't roll, just kind of slid. Well, the rocks weren't done, not by a mile. Surely this next try would get Rick to smile. Using big globs of glue to get them to stick, they were proud of themselves. This will work, they announced. But Rick still couldn't roll, he just kind of bounced. Well, they pushed and they pulled, trying every which way to get Rick to roll, but by the end of the day, nothing had worked, just like Rick expected, and he ended up feeling depressed and dejected. "It's no use," Ricky sighed. "There just isn't a way, so sit off to the side and watch you all play." But his friends wouldn't quit. "We're here for you, brother. We'll get you to roll one way or another." So they pondered and thought, each straining his brain, till they looked up and saw it was starting to rain. And that's when it hit the smart one named Stu. "Eureka!" he shouted. "I know just what to do." He explained to them how they would get Rick to tumble. "My plan is pretty genius." Stu wasn't too humble. So they carried our hero down the road about a mile to the lake. They had gathered up some mud they could pile on the flat-sided Rick, creating a mound that they shaped, smoothed, and sculpted till it was round. Then, after the rain, the sun, and the sky, they left him out to bake till the mud was dry. They gathered up vines and one colorful feather that wrapped all around Rick to keep it together. What did I don't think I showed you. Let me see. There's the ladybug. When the last knot was tied and the work was all done, the only step left was for Rick to have fun. They stood back and watched, feeling nervous and tense, as Rick breathed and dipped deep with increasing suspense. He moved slowly at first, testing out his new mold, and then for the first time, Ricky the Rock rolled. So Bria the ladybug, who'd been there from the start, felt a surge of pure joy swell up in her heart. She thought as she watched her friends play in the hill, "There's always a way, if there's also a will." And she said to herself as Ricky rolled down the slope, "When you're surrounded by love, you always have hope." Thanks for joining us for our Rocks to Remember episode of Get the Dirt. And if you haven't signed up yet, you just have a bit more time to sign up for your library's summer reading program. Prizes and activities await those who are digging deeper. I'll see you next time.